This video was brought to you by the lovely members of my Patreon.
I've seen it go on for a year. I've seen it go on for a couple months, but long term, I've never really seen this work out. Hey guys, it's Kat and it's time for yet another episode of True Tea. Thank you so much for coming back and checking out my channel, checking out True Tea on this channel. I really, really appreciate it. It has been a whole week since I've seen you. What have you guys been up to? What have you guys been doing? Personally, I have been sick for this past whole week. I've had a whole week of just being sick and dead in fever. And while I was sick, something that somebody sent me in my P.O. box actually came in very, very handy. Somebody made me a blanket and I wanted to share it with you guys. First of all, I love getting things in my P.O. box. If you guys ever want to send me stuff, you know, I'll put the address in later in the video, but somebody sent me this. Somebody sent me, oops, it's upside down. It's this really amazing blanket. It's a teeny tiny blanket. It kept me a little bit warm. And it says, if you are silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it. It's a quote by Zora Neale Hurston. Thank you so much. This was sent to me by somebody named Keely. So thank you so much, Keely, for sending this to me. It is super, super cool. And it is, these are like my favorite complementary colors too. So thank you so much for that. Like I said, if you guys ever want to send me stuff, you guys can send it to my P.O. box right over here. I love getting packages. I love receiving packages, if you know what I mean. So yeah, anyway, let's get into this video. We're going to be having a conversation about polyamory yet again. But before I do, as per usual, I would suggest you go to your kitchen and grab yourself something to drink. Right now, I'm drinking some grapefruit juice because I love grapefruit after I'm getting, over an illness. I want to let you guys know that I will be speaking this Saturday at the Western Michigan University. I don't know how to say the name of the conference. It's like a really, really long conference name, but I'll be speaking at Western Michigan University if you guys are in the area. So yeah, I'd love to see you. We should hang out. We should go do something together. Apparently it'll be snowing. I'm not excited about that, but I am excited to be in Michigan. So hopefully you guys can come out and join me. Anyway, let me take a sip of this and then we can get into this video. So as you guys know, or should know by now, I am polyamorous. That means that I believe that I can be in love with more than one person. I currently have, I would say, 3.5 partners, and it works for me. Having multiple partners, it's not something I do because, I like sex. I mean, I do, but that's not why. It's just because for me personally, the way that I guess my mind works is that I don't look at monogamy as this sort of amazing thing that makes me feel warm and safe. I said this in previous videos, but for me, what helped me kind of recognize that I was polyamorous was recognizing that for me, monogamy felt like a trap. And coming to that realization was a good one for me. I was in a 5-year very monogamous relationship with somebody, and I think that helped me put 2 and 2 together. And in that relationship, I understood that I was polyamorous. I came to understand that I was polyamorous. And at some point I wanted to present him with that, but I never did. And actually that's kind of what we're gonna be talking about in this video. I was going through Reddit on the r/polyamory page, and I found this post that I wanted to share with you guys that kind of talked a bit about presenting polyamory to a partner and it not really going very well. So let me read you the Reddit post. So the Reddit post is titled, "Husband Wants Weird Divorce." I'm a long-term lurker and have resisted getting an account for years, but recent events have compelled me to. 2 weekends ago, I told my husband, both in our 50s with no kids, that I was interested in pursuing polyamory. He didn't say anything right away. He just got up, packed a bag, and said that he would go to a hotel for a few days. He said not to contact him unless it was an emergency and that he needed time to think. Monday came around and I got a text from him saying that he has been doing some talking. He's going to be taking some vacation days, and that he was still thinking and needed space. Finally, after a week of spinning my wheels and barely eating, I got an actual handwritten letter from him in the mail. Rather than paraphrasing what he wrote, I'm just going to copy his text below. I simply don't know how to respond. The text says, "Dear blah, after contemplating what you told me about your desires, I've concluded that whatever our marriage was, It no longer exists in any form that is recognizable to me. As such, I've decided we need to divorce, no fault, and disentangle our finances. On that course of action, I am totally inflexible. Please understand that this isn't me throwing in the towel. Once everything goes through, the stage will be set for negotiating relationship 2.0, whatever that will be. No matter what we hammer out, we need to proceed from scratch because we truly are starting over and shouldn't use our finances or prior now void commitments as coercion. If negotiations fail, we will already be divorced, and then we'll begin the unhappy task of disentangling what is left of our lives. I hope it doesn't come to that. I still love you, and I hope that we can come to an arrangement that brings us both happiness. I'll be home in a few days after I've gotten the legal ball rolling. Love, your husband. So, a lot of people are having a not so great reaction to that. Some people in the comment section of this Reddit post are saying that the husband is being kind of rash. He's kind of jumping to a really, really crazy conclusion. And, you know, I had a couple of reactions to this, right? Now, like I said, I never ended up actually having a conversation with my partner about me being polyamorous and that being what I wanted to do. And I think a big reason why I didn't do that was because that's a bell you can't unring. You know, you can't really present. I mean, if you start a relationship monogamously and the contract of your relationship is, hey, I love you, and because I love you, I want to be with you and only you, there's almost no way to later present the contract, you know, that I still love you, but I've decided that I want to also be able to love other people, right? I mean, it's really hard to go from that contract to one that now draws into question whether or not you actually love somebody. Because of course, the way that monogamy works for a lot of people is that it's an expression of how much you love someone. You're being monogamous with somebody because this is the person you love the most. This is the person you want to be with the most. That is what monogamy is to a lot of people. Now, of course, I think that's a very unhealthy mindset, but that's kind of what it is to a lot of people. You are monogamous to a person because this is the person you value the most. And it's hard to swallow that being what used to be said, and now the contract changing to, well, I want to be able to love other people, because what does love now mean to the monogamous person? What does it now mean, right? So for me, when I read this reaction, when I read the way this husband reacted, I actually thought it was really great, because what he was essentially doing was saying, you know what? The relationship I thought I was in is not the relationship I'm currently in, right? You are changing the contract of the relationship, and I think it's smart for us going forward to change all aspects of our relationship and figure out where we land. I mean, a lot of people are saying, well, you know, like one person gave the example of you know, presenting polyamory being like asking about getting a dog, right? And for him to have the reaction of, you know, getting a divorce because, you know, you asked for a dog, it's ridiculous. I mean, of course it would be ridiculous if what we were talking about was getting a dog, right? But we're not. I mean, for me, like the comparison would be like knowing that your partner has an allergy, right? Knowing that your partner has an allergy, and then going out of your way to get a dog and saying, well, I'm going to get a dog and that is how it is. And that just is what it is. I mean, that would be what kind of similar to this. That's not, I mean, but of course this is totally different, because even if you guys don't pursue polyamory, which I'll get into later, your partner now knows that it's a thing that you want. You know, her husband now knows that this is a thing that she wants. She wants to be able to be with other people, right? She wants to be able to be, so where does he go with that? You know, he loves her. He wants to only be with her. He wants her to only be with him. Where does he go with that, right? Knowing that this is a thing that you want. I mean, usually if you love somebody, you're going to want for them to be happy. You're going to want for them to be able to pursue the things that they truly want to pursue, right? And so he could say, hey, you know what? I'm not comfortable with this, and that's not what I think we should do, right? And she can say, okay, well, I guess I'll put my feelings on the back burner, but now he's the asshole. Now he's the jerk who's held her back from being the polyamorous person that she wanted to be. And I don't think that he wanted to put her in that situation. And so he said, we're gonna change the foundation of our relationship. And he drew a boundary for himself, right? Now, I think a lot of polyamorous people think that the noble thing to do would be for the husband to say, well, you know, I'm not really comfortable with this, but I love you, so let's sort of explore this together. I think that a lot of people think that that would be, you know, the more woke, way to approach it, right? For him to just be open-minded. And here's the thing. I have seen this so many times. And it's usually with the genders being reversed. Usually a guy will come to a girl and say, hey, I want to be polyamorous. And she'll sit there and she'll say, okay, yeah, I guess we can do that. And she doesn't really want to do that. And so she sits there silently miserable while he's out there being polyamorous. And the relationship doesn't last. The relationship does not last. And for me, while obviously, you know, like I said, I was in a relationship with somebody, with a monogamous relationship with someone when I recognized that I was polyamorous. I know that if I brought this to my partner, it would probably have not ended well, right? It probably would not have ended well. And ultimately, he didn't want to be in a relationship like that. So, you know, I don't think that it's better for a person who is polyamorous to stay in a relationship with somebody who is monogamous and that's something that they want to do just to sort of see if it'll work out. Because here's the thing, it usually doesn't. It usually doesn't work out. I've watched it happen so many times. It usually doesn't work out. I mean, one of my partners, he was married, you know, and he, after years of not being able to be polyamorous, decided to present it to his wife, right? And so he did. And of course, because of the nature of their relationship, his wife was like, okay, well, you can do these things, but not those things, you know, kind of put a limitation on the kind of relationships that he could be in because of that was their compromise, right? And so of course, even though they had now opened it up, right, it also now became the situation where he was resenting her because he wasn't being able to be who he really wanted to be and do what he really wanted to do, right? What ultimately happened is that she eventually met a guy who was monogamous and then ended up having to get a divorce from my current partner because that's what she wanted. You know, I don't think it's more noble to stay in a relationship when you know that in terms of your views on monogamy are different. I don't think that that's more noble. And I really wish that more polyamorous people would be comfortable with monogamous people saying, you know what, I just don't want to be part of this. I just don't want to be part of this. You know, there's a much longer conversation to be had about this because I do think that there are a lot of polyamorous men who do prefer dating monogamous women for X reason or another. I think for some polyamorous men, the idea of a poly woman is truly very frightening to them, but that's a whole other conversation for another day. But I'm really curious about how you guys feel about this because for me, I don't think it's a bad reaction. And there's a lot of people in the comment section of this video, of that post rather, saying that, you know, his reaction wasn't reasonable. You know, I think that it's a blessing that he's still willing to figure out a relationship with her, even though she's polyamorous. I think it's a blessing. I think that he has every right to say, this isn't what I want, and to close the door entirely on the relationship. I think it's a blessing that he's not. I think that it's truly a blessing that he says, you know what, I'm still interested in seeing whether or not we could be in a relationship. I truly do. And I think it's really strange to look at this in a different way. I really, really do. I don't quite understand that, right? So I'm really curious to know how you guys feel about this. You know, one of the things that I'm stuck with is that for me, polyamory isn't something that I could compromise on. I mean, a lot of people are saying, well, she only presented him with the idea, they might have just tried it out or whatever, but I don't think polyamory is really a thing you try out. I mean, I'm saying that as somebody who didn't, explore polyamory while being in a relationship. I guess it's reasonable for you when you're in a relationship to try polyamory. But I don't know. I think for me, I am polyamorous. Monogamy for me is like a threat. It's not something that makes me feel warm and happy and warm and cozy. It makes me feel like you're asking me to subtract a very important part of who I am so that you feel more comfortable and more confident. And I don't want to date anybody who would make me feel that way. I don't want to be in a relationship with anyone who would feel like the only way for them to confidently understand that I loved them and that I cared for them was to cut off all the people in my life who I value and care for, who I love, right? I don't think that would be me being in a good relationship. I think that would be me being in a very shitty relationship, right? So, for me, polyamory isn't something I can just try. I am polyamorous, but, I don't want to gatekeep. I don't want to whatever, but you can't really unring the bell of asking your partner to add more people to your relationship. It's a bell you can't unring, which is why it is something that is very, very hard to talk about. But ultimately, I kind of look at it like this. Either you talk about it and you have the conversation and let the relationship go wherever it will go, or you don't talk about it and you grow to resent your partner throughout the relationship. And I think one of the big things that I recognized getting out of my relationship and coming into my polyamory was that I had resented my partner for no reason. It was totally unfair for me to have resentment towards my partner, not just in the context of him not being polyamorous, but in so many other ways. It was unfair for me to believe that he could be absolutely everything for me. That was not fair. And resenting him for not being, who I wanted him to be just wasn't reasonable. There were so many ways in which I could have valued him more if I accepted that this is who he is. These are the things that he does. He doesn't do these things, and that's okay. He's still an amazing person. I could have loved him so much more if I had that understanding, right? So for me, I just don't see this as a bad thing. I don't see this person drawing a boundary for themselves and saying, hey, this isn't what I want to do, as a bad person. I think it's actually a really, really, really good thing, right? Painful, hard, but a really, really good thing. And also, let's keep in mind, they're both in their 50s, okay? Not saying the 50 is old, but 50 is old, So I don't think he wants to do the thing that a lot of people do, where we're going to keep going into this relationship for years and years and years, and I'm going to be miserable while you're out there being polyamorous. Like, no. He wants to be able to live his life and be happy. And I think that that's, unfortunately, sometimes part of being happy is breaking up and letting someone go. Like, I loved my ex. I mean, I would have loved if things could go differently, but they didn't. And it is what it is. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes loving someone is letting them go. I think sometimes being a polyamorous person who's in love with a monogamous person, I think part of loving those people is allowing them to be able to have the freedom to be in a monogamous relationship with someone other than you. I think that's love, not holding on to somebody so that you can feel connected to them when they don't want to, have, their views on monogamy are different. You know what I mean? I don't think that's the same. So anyway, I'm very curious to know what you guys have to say about this. This is definitely a really interesting topic. I'm curious to hear from people who have been in this situation. I've seen this situation happen so many times. I've yet to see one where it long-term pans out. I've seen it go on for a year. I've seen it go on for a couple of months. But long-term, I've never really seen this work out. So I'm curious to know, if you're currently in a situation like that, why it works for you. I'm curious, or how it works for you rather. So yeah. Anyway, if you guys made it through this entire video, I would love it if you put this emoji in the comment section to show that you watched the entire thing. I appreciate those of you guys who post the emoji. Like I've told you guys in previous weeks, you guys can actually just copy and paste this emoji if you are on desktop and not on your phone. So yeah, if you see other people post it, just highlight it. It won't seem highlighted. Copy like you would, and then paste, and it'll be right there. So Yeah. Anyway, I will see you guys next week. Right now you're looking at 2 videos you can watch if you would like to continue to sip true tea right here on this channel. And in the corner, there are several ways you can send me things. You can send me a tip, or you can send me a package, right? Those are 2 different ways. I love receiving tips. I'm working towards getting a new computer, so I would definitely appreciate all the tips that I get. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.